So you are a world-class political operative. What advice would you give the Donald for Monday night?
Well, first of all, before I jump into that, let me just say that on that issue of what just happened in New York, I mean, clearly what that quote you just shared of Hillary, it doesn't seem to be working, the one that she keeps espousing, I mean, because we continue to have these attacks. So anyway, politics is always a game of expectations, as you know, McGraw. I mean, it really is, and it's about who's going to exceed the expectations more. And I think that's never been more applicable than this year. You have two of the worst candidates ever to run for this office. I mean, they're both horrible, and it's going to be easy for them to exceed expectations if they're disciplined and they think that. So if I was advising both, particularly Trump, certainly it would start with don't take the bait that the other's going to throw out there. And then, secondly, it would be exceed expectations. And what that means is be very clear to Trump to say, listen, people are going to expect you to be out there and be a buffoon and show a bad temperament and try to resort back to how you were in the Republican primary debates, nomination debates, because they're going to think that you aren't able to handle some of the public policy discussions, so you're going to resort back to kind of the nastiness. Show them that you can be thoughtful and presidential and serious, and I think it'll go a long way.
One of the things is he's been awful thin when it comes to facts, figures, conceptual discussions. He reverts back to, well, we'll just get it done when, I'll hire the smartest people in the world, and I trust myself more than anybody. She, of course, is an expert when it comes to foreign policy in terms of knowledge. So you would think that he would be studying up and knowing some facts and figures for Monday night.
Well, it's true, but he also has another thing going for him, and that is this recent attack that just happened. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, when there are events like that, like what happened this past weekend, and if there are any more, it's only going to help his campaign, because for whatever reason, I just still baffles my mind, even after all of the attacks we've seen. I mean, you would think it would have been after 9/11 would have been enough. Democrats still, for some reason, want to resist what is the reality of the threat, and instead of talking about it in a way that I think most Americans feel, which is let's go after these folks, let's do whatever we have to defend the homeland. Whatever we've done in the past is not working. Being Mr. Nice Guy country is not working. They continue to put this flag in the sand to say, oh, well, let's not make the terrorists mad, or let's not alienate the U.S. with the rest of the world, which I just said from the beginning is clearly not working. So I think you're going to see Trump and his team really leverage this most recent attack as an example of the threat that exists and that is real and that is not going away. And he doesn't have to get too much in the weeds about saying, hey, I'm willing to be aggressive to go after it, because he knows that she's going to get up there and say, well, I think we need to be cautious on our rhetoric. So right now, her view is not what the majority of Americans feel.
Yeah, but the truth is, though, there's no policy that can stop a guy like this in New York and New Jersey. He is a one-man band who sort of was self-radicalized, it seems like, and sort of went off on his own. That's like a school shooter. I mean, what policy do you put in place to stop a school shooting? It's just a lone wolf, more or less.
Oh, I don't disagree with you at all, but I'm talking about this is politics, and politics is perception, and right now emotions are raw, people are scared, and they don't need to hear a policy. They just need to hear someone that's going to be a stronger leader than what we've had over the last 8 years on it, and that what Hillary Clinton is going to be. So they just want to. They're going to feel safer. The American voter is going to feel safer if with the person that is basically going to say, maybe this is a lone wolf. Maybe there's, not specific policies, but I'm telling you, I'm going to make it my mission to provide law enforcement and our military everything that's needed to try to prevent what these things or minimize these things from happening. But the other thing about the debates, though, McGraw, I think it has to be said is this is a unique situation. Typically, debates in a presidential race are there to influence the undecideds. Let's face it, there are no undecideds in this race anymore. The unique element of these debates this year is that they are to influence voters, Republicans and Democrat voters that don't like their candidates and are looking for a reason to vote for their candidates. In the Trump camp, obviously, it's many Republicans that voted for other people in the primaries, or that just can't stand the guy, but might be looking for a reason to hold their nose and go to the polls for him. And on the Democrat side, it's the Bernie Sanders voters. So it's really kind of an interesting dynamic this time with the debates, that it's really focused on trying to give those voters a reason to turn out and vote for their nominee.
ABC News political correspondent Trey Harden. Trey, thanks for checking in.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.